And Sarah, Sarge actually contacted me. I talked to Sarah a little bit too, and she wanted me to put something together for you. And so I really didn't get a lot of direction, so it's a little bit all over the map. But there hopefully is something that you can take away that'll help you this year. Coach, you're gonna have to click for me. Okay, and I kind of mentioned before. You can leave it there. That's fine. But I kind of mentioned before. Just again, I wanted to thank you guys and for making the commitment to work with with our Pop Warner kids. And like I mentioned, I mean that's our feeder program. You know, the success that we've had over the last decade or so in our program is directly related to the fact that we have kids that have gone through Pop Warner and get to high school and they've played 5 or 6 years of organized football already, and they're ready to rock and roll. And so we have a vested interest in it, and we want you to be successful. And anything that we can do to help you out, we're more than willing to do. And as far as just advice, it's absolutely essential that you become an advocate for our sport. In my own opinion, I think it's completely under attack by the media. I think football is under complete attack. We see articles like this in the New York Times all the time. Don't let your kids play football. And then, they act like it's the only sport on the planet that has any kind of issues with concussions, and it's just not true. You have in 2015 girls soccer passed football at the high school level for the number of concussions per participant. They just had a study that came out here in July that said that high school football was not a major risk factor for cognitive impairment or depression later in life. And so that gets kind of pushed to the front, to the back of the paper. But then when some celebrity says that I don't want my kid to play football, all of a sudden that's on every media source that you can find. They don't tell you things like in the NCAA last year, football dropped to 4th in concussions in NCAA sports. It was passed up by men's wrestling, it was passed up by men's hockey, it was passed up by women's hockey, and number of concussions per exposure. I almost treat it like the Ebola virus outbreak. When something concussion related pops up, there's this huge panic, and the reality is even like in Africa, malaria and AIDS kill so many more millions of people than Ebola. But for whatever reason, we have the media frenzy over that, and it's like, I feel like it's the same way when it comes to football. They don't tell you that, out of all major high school sports, that football is the only one where the rate of concussion per participant is actually on the decline. It's actually increasing in every other major sport. We're the only one that's going the other direction where we've reversed that trend. Just to give you an example, last year we had roughly about 80 kids in our program, 3 games a week, about 150 snaps per game, and we had 1 concussion. I had more concussions in PE last year than I did coaching football. Okay, it is safe. Our game has never been safer. I think there are a lot of things that go into that, the advances in helmets. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like, are you a green dot or are you a red dot? And they were designed to prevent cranial fractures, and they were great, but all the vibration when you hit something went right into your melon. Okay, and they've completely changed. They're so much better than they were when I was growing up. The changes in techniques that are taught, we've gone to complete rugby tackling. We keep our head on the backside of everything. I was so concerned about arm tackles, and we were always told to put your head where you don't want the ball carrier to go. And I'll be honest with you, we don't miss tackles. We don't miss tackles. Okay, we figured out a way through rugby tackling to be able to safely tackle and keep our head out of contact and keep it on the backside of where everything's going, and still keep our kids safe.
I saw that in the heads-up thing. I thought it was odd.
It is, because it's unconventional. It's unconventional, and change is hard.
I got those questions wrong because
Old school, man. You take them out and put your head in front of them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, learn that.
And it's kind of like the old bravada, the old stuff that we're taught. I was talking to Tommy before about, we do bull in the ring and the Oklahoma drill and all this stuff, and there's all this test of manhood stuff, and that stuff is not safe. It's not. If you're looking for an injury or you want to bring negative attention to our sport, go back to some of the old school stuff.
Don't do the shiver drill.
Yeah, you got it.
Get the stingers in the neck every time. Yeah.
There's been some changes in rules. The targeting rule, at the high school level, we have a targeting rule. If you intentionally, shoulder or helmet to helmet, you're done. Okay, and so there's some importance. Kids want to play. They don't want to get taken out. Okay, and so that's really made us more conscientious of hitting people in the body and not and staying away from the head. And then the other rule I thought last year that made a big difference safety-wise is anytime the ball changes direction, which happens several times a game, whether it's a special team or a running back cuts back against the grain, you see all those blindside shots, okay, of kids that are turning and running and they can't see what's coming. Well, you can't hit that guy with your shoulders anymore. You have to lead with your hands. And so you can still get some pretty big hits. It's not taken, I don't think it's made the game soft at all. But I'm telling you with for a fact that it's definitely made it safer. There's no question. You don't get that kill shot with that kid rolling on the ground after he's been blindsided and someone's hit him with the shoulder. I get this all the time. I get people that will come to me and they will tell me that it's just too dangerous and they don't want their kid to play, and it's the same person that's got their kid rolling down the street on a skateboard or riding that little skateboard that the wheels go in and out, that little goofy thing, or riding their ATV. You got it. Again, it's never been safer, and you got to be an advocate for our sport in the community so people know that it's safe and you can play it, and the benefits far outweigh the risk. I really believe that. My own children play, and it's important for us to be out there in the community sending kind of positive messages to people about our sport. So, okay, Coach. So with declining numbers, okay, and if we've been paying attention, we know that the enrollment in football, not just in Kenai Peninsula Pop Corner, but across the country, is on the decline. Okay, and I think 2 years ago at the high school level was the first time since they've been keeping records, and since like the 70s, that the number of participants had actually gone down from one year to the next. Okay, and so and a lot of it I really attribute to, again, the media assault on the sport. But this is really kind of the direction I went with this. Is I try to come up with what drives kids out of our sport and what things can we do, especially at the youth level, to keep kids in our sport, to keep them interested so that they want to be a part of it, and so like Sarge said, that they can go out and tell their buddies and get their buddies to come and play. I talked to a lady on Wednesday who had her son at my youth camp, who is a hockey player, doesn't play football, but came to camp, and the tears and that were flowing as he was arguing with mom, trying to get him to let him play football. And that's kind of what I want to see happen, rather than all the declining numbers. So, okay, Coach. So one of the first things that I think is probably the quickest way to drive kids out of youth football is to put them in a good old mismatch and let them get beat on and disrespected real good. Okay, especially when they're learning. This top part here, this confidence and contact. Okay, this is learned. This is developed over time. Even at the high school level, I have kids that come in when they're 14, 15 years old and they're insecure and they're unsure of themselves when it comes to contact. Okay, it's not a natural thing. You have, once in a while, we'll get kids that come out there and they'll run through a wall for you and they'll get up and they're salivating. Okay, that happens once in a great while, but the reality is most kids have to develop this. It has to be developed. Okay, and my advice is this. If you're standing there looking at a group of Pop Warner kids and you don't know most of them, you've never seen them before, I'd divide them up into 3 groups by size to start with. Okay, and the second thing I would do is, after they had gotten a little bit of contact, then I start moving kids up or down. Okay, because we all know it's not the size of the dog in the fight. There's going to be some little guys that will flat out get after it, and some bigger guys that are really just not sure of themselves yet. Okay, but the contact piece is absolutely huge. And again, I mentioned at the high school level, 30 minutes twice a week is all we have any real contact where there's no real winner or loser. We're practicing 2.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. Okay, that's not a lot. We're getting a lot of football done without beating on each other. Okay, and I mentioned with the schedule that we play, we would not survive if we were just out there and it was all contact. Okay, they need to learn all the skills, the heads-up tackling stuff, blocking circuits, all that stuff before they can start trying to apply it to real contact situations. And this goes back to the old school stuff. Again, keep them out of the mismatches. Keep them in groups where they can build a little bit of confidence, and they'll surprise you. There will be some little guys that were in that third group that, okay, they move up to the second group because now they're, you know, they get it, okay? They're flying around, their heads up, they're making good contact, and they're getting up, and everything works, and I'm still good, and they feel good about themselves, and it's not tears every time they hit something, okay? And there will be guys in that, you know, middle group that'll surprise you too and want to go up with the best kid you have, but divide them up into groups. You know, keep those mismatches from happening. They're bad for the sport. Okay? All right, Coach. Let's stand in the lines. This is another one. Okay, football's notorious for this. Okay? How many of you have seen a Pop Warner practice where you've got one coach holding a shield in a line of like 9 kids and they're all waiting there to take their turn to hit coach while he's holding the shield, whop, and then he runs around and gets in the line. And then the 2 little kids at the back of the line, they start horse playing, okay, because their attention span is about that big, and then the coach runs them because they're not paying attention. I mean, we see that over and over and over again. Whose fault is that? Okay, it's our fault. As coaches, it's our fault. Okay, it's just not being organized, right? My suggestion is this: stations. Break them up into smaller groups, okay? And I know help is an issue. You're gonna create your own help, okay? You have to, and they don't have to be experts, okay? If they can blow a whistle and learn a part of a drill, okay? It's even at the high school level. I don't run the whole tackling circuit myself. I've got people around me, and they have different levels of coaching expertise, and they all do one piece. I'm only the tracking guy. I teach tracking as part of our circuit, and I do it every single time we do the tackling circuit all year long. I don't mess with all the other stuff. I only have to be an expert on one part of it. And so if you decide to use that circuit, okay, have one guy do the drill where you buzz your feet, the breakdown drill. Have another guy be the guy that does the drill where you throw your hooks. There's a big brother standing there, okay, who's on the sidelines that can run that drill, okay? But you have to maximize the parents and the siblings and the people that are on the team that you have in order to run stations, okay? But it can be done, okay? Because a lot of that, they're all going to need it.
Now, do you have some of the drill diagrams for us?
I have
greatly
I have some things that I'm going to give you today when I show you that, and then I'm still kind of putting some information in there for you, and it's going to be one of those things. You're just going to have to tell me what you want.
Yeah. If we can get some drawn diagrams,
okay,
maybe a little bit of explanation on some drill stations,
sure.
Because then because we can laminate stuff like that, and then whoever's there to help, we can go, here's what I want you to do with them.
Absolutely.
Here's the card. Just have this group do this, and
absolutely,
get this other group over here and do this.
And I don't have anything like specific like that, but what I do have are I have the explanation of the drills, and I have video of kids doing those drills with the explanation.
Well, we can draw some.
And then you got it. And so it'll be probably more than you need, to be honest with you. But I want to give you every advantage that I could. The other thing with stations is they're manageable. You know, if you got 4 people out there, 20 kids on your team, now we're groups of 5. I can manage 5. 5's manageable, okay? And I can get them to do pretty much whatever I want them to do, okay? But when we get into the mass group teaching thing where kids are standing around, that doesn't work real good. One example, and I know Coach Duffield was there to watch this, but can you pull up the little video of the little guy? This is just an example. I want to give you a sample, and I threw this in the Google Drive. And I'll tell you what this is. No, not yet, Coach. If you'll just make it bigger here. What this is it's 5 kids going at the same time in a drill. Okay, and so you can have 2 stations in that, and there's 10 kids. And what it is there's 4 cones. I know you can't see them. There's a kid over here, and there's a kid on each cone, and then there's a kid in the middle. And the kid in the middle is actually working on something very important to football, and it's breaking down, okay, and also tackling without actually tackling. He's tagging the hips, okay, and in order to tag someone's hips, whether it's the one hip or both, okay, or from behind, I have to get close enough to that person to be able to do that. Okay, I can't lunge, okay, if I'm tagging with 2 hands on the hips. I can reach if it's 1 hand, but if it's 2 hands, I pretty much have to go there, okay? And so these are kids at our youth camp last week. Some are football players, some are probably not. And we explained this in about 5 minutes, or maybe 5 minutes to a whole group, split them all out, and then they got it. It's pretty self-explanatory. The other 4 guys are to avoid them. Don't get tagged, which is, you know, part of football too. Okay, if you're a ball carrier, you want to be elusive and not get tackled, and also your cutting ability. Okay, and then when they get tagged, they're supposed to step out. You'll notice because they're little kids, one of them keeps running around in the circle and gets ran over here. Okay, but you'll see the you know, in about a 10-second period here, you're getting a lot of football done. Okay, go ahead, coach.
Go, Record, go, 2 hands, Record. Go, next one, next one, next one. Next one, Record, next one, next one, next one.
And this little guy didn't get out, so they fall down. They got a good juke out of the big man there, okay? And so you're about a 6-second drill, okay? But I have 5 kids moving at the same time, and by the time they all went through, okay, you know, and it's fun. They all understand the concept of tagging. You just turned it into a football drill without them knowing it, okay? And it's very simple, and there's lots of these kinds of things that you can do to teach different concepts. I have multiple kids moving at the same time. I don't have a kid standing in line. I can have 10 kids there, and then the 5 kids come out, 5 new kids come in, 5, and they can roll through, okay? And you know, in 10 minutes, every kid's getting a bunch of reps, and they're all having fun, they're all enjoying themselves, and they're all learning a concept that's vital to football. Okay? I don't know if you can go back to that presentation, Coach. And high school kids love this stuff too. I mean, it's not. Okay, that's standing in lines. I think it's the next one here. Conditioning. And this is tough because you're going to get this whole conditioning thing the first few weeks. That's all they're going to let you do. And that's what they call it. Okay. My suggestion to you is to add as many football elements as you can, so they're learning stuff, and so that it's not just true conditioning. That you're not out. You know, we all had something called Hell Week when we played, right? We all survived something that was miserable, and we may be a little proud we did, and there's some kids maybe quit along the way, and that's how they would weed people out. And we don't want to weed people out when they're youth players. We want them all to be, you know, to come and enjoy and love our sport.
Every Wednesday, actually, is what it was.
Every Wednesday was yours, yeah. So we had that stuff too, and we'd run till kids would puke and the whole, and it's just, there's not a more unnecessary part of football. At the high school level, we haven't lost a game in 5 years, and we don't condition. We do not condition in our program. Very rarely. We'll do something physical maybe as a punishment, but we don't schedule conditioning at the end of practice where everybody gets together and we're just going to run until we vomit. We increase the tempo of our practice so that they're so stinking worn out, you know, and we'll run no huddle plays on our offensive team that there's not a lot of juice in the tank left over at the end. And if you have enough tempo in your practice, your whole practice should be conditioning. It really should. Okay, and if you are going to do conditioning and you need it, okay, then try and add some kind of football element to it, like a pursuit drill. Okay, how important is pursuit? Defensively, it's vital, right? You know, to us, that's conditioning. Okay, and we're learning football skills. We'll run at the end of practice when they're all tired. Okay, we'll run what we call perfect play, where they got to get out there and there's no defense, and we change the snap count on them. They got to run so many plays in a row to get out of practice, okay? Well, they're exhausted. And we'll have coaches that will judge, thumbs up, thumbs down on different parts of it. We'll take them over to the sled sometimes and do what we call 6-second drill, okay? The average football play is about 6 seconds long, and we'll have them push it for 6 seconds at a time, which is not very long, but that's the average length of a play, so they get that ingrained in their heads, and they don't just pop and stop like a lot of little kids do. They realize that there's some length to the play. Okay, we got to move for, this is what it feels like to run a play. Okay, if another way is to turn your condition into some kind of team building. We use some stuff from a coach who's actually a basketball coach out of Washington named Bruce Brown, and he calls it positive conditioning. And what he does is he will take his kids and put them in groups of 4, for example, okay, and then they would have a distance, and the distance is really irrelevant, let's say 20 yards. And what they would do is to teach team building concept. One person would run that distance back and forth as hard as they could, and then when they started to fade, the next person in line would raise their hand, and that kid would step out, and he would hop in for him, and he'd run as hard as he could, as long as he could. Okay, and they're learning the concept of I'm helping somebody out. I'm helping the next guy in line out. And the reality is they're not all going to run the same distance before they start to fade. That big guy is going to probably not run as many times, and he's going to fade. And that thinner, athletic kid may run a few more times before he starts to fade. But guess what? That's football. I'm not going to ask the same out of one player as I am another. Okay, the load is different, but we all do everything we can, right? And then they learn to help each other out. And then you put a little twist on that. Okay, you got to learn to ask for help too when you need it. And so another way they do it is you run that distance, and when you feel yourself start to fade, you raise your hand and the next guy steps in for you. Okay? And those are just a couple of ideas. When we do run, there's a purpose for it. We're not going to just line up and run gassers. Okay? We're not going to do it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't provide anything for us that's going to, I think, cross over to winning football games, you know? We get our conditioning through our practices. If they're hard enough and the tempo is good enough, there shouldn't be this huge running session at the end. Okay, we keep it football specific. Or we're team building, we're doing something else with it. Okay? Coach? The next piece here, again, another thing I think that drives kids away, I think focusing on the stars. Okay? And what I mean by that is focusing on those 5 or 6 kids that are talented, they eat up all of our time, and we forget about those other kids. Okay? And even at the high school level, it doesn't matter what they did when they were young. There's no predetermining factor. Just because a kid ran around and was the guy when he was in the 5th grade, it doesn't mean he's going to be the guy when he's 18. It doesn't work that way. Okay? So what you're looking at right now is going to be completely different when they get to me. It's not going to be the same. Okay? And so there are kids that bloom early, okay, or late. We don't know what's going to happen. I can tell you this much. I can't figure it out from 14 to 18. I challenge one of you guys to figure it out when they're 8 years old, because I don't know. And I put these three names up here. These are 3 kids for me. Chris Nolden, Reed Schmelzenbach, and Ty Fenton. They all have 3 things in common. They were all offensive linemen in Pop Warner, and they all rushed for 1,000 yards for me. Okay, either somebody got it wrong, okay, or they developed late. Okay, and so we don't know.
Marshall Lynch played his entire Pop Warner career as an offensive lineman.
Hey, that's why we love him. That's why he's eating candy on the sideline still. So, but again, this is huge, right? Okay, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't. Just make them love it. Make them love it. Playing time is huge. They're not going to love it if they're not playing. Get creative with how you get the reps. Okay. One of the couple of things that Sarge and I did is we had kids rotate them through, so they didn't wait till the end when the game was over. We used those 2 inside defensive tackle spots, so they were playing meaningful reps. You know, there might be 8 kids in there, but they're rolling throughout the whole game. Every couple of plays, there's a new set of 2, and so they're playing and involved and paying attention when the game's going on. We also would flip-flop our line, and we'd had a couple kids that we would roll, maybe 4 kids on that backside, and that's where they got their reps. Okay, but the 10-play thing, we think that it gets in the way of winning, and the reality is it gets in the way of development. Because I see guys in these games that are blowouts, and they're still struggling to get kids 10 plays. If it's a blowout one way or the other, then at the end of the game, those reps should be close to even. If you're truly trying to develop football players, if you're getting your butt handed to you, you better be playing kids. The score doesn't matter at that point. And if you're beating somebody up, okay, then get kids in. Get kids in. I don't know what's going to happen to them, but doggone it, I want them to still be a football player when they get to high school. I don't want them leaving because they didn't play or they had a bad experience. Okay, I need you to get them to me. Okay. Parents, okay? There's a video code, I don't know if that's a link. Yeah, it's already up, and pull it over. I've got a little short video here, hopefully the sound works. I want to go ahead and show you this, and then I've got my 2 cents when it comes to that as well.
Oh, I see a lot of new faces here. Who wants to go first?
Hi, I'm Jill. I'm a recovering soccer mom.
Hi, Jill.
Ever since Bailey was 5, I've been driving her to early morning practices, after school games, weekend tournaments, summer camps, indoor winter league, Spratum league.
Spratum?
Spring/autumn. I lived in my van, never saw my husband, but it was okay because my sacrifice was making Bailey a better player.
But we encourage our kids to play sports so they become better people.
Tell that to the little brats, huh, who play other sports during the rest of the year and then steal all the spots on the soccer team.
Perhaps those kids are better athletes because they play other sports?
That makes no sense. Bailey is out there every day, kicking the ball until her feet are numb.
You say that like it's a good thing.
And then one day out of nowhere, Bailey tells me that she doesn't want to play soccer anymore. She can't even look at a soccer ball after all the years I put in.
How old is Bailey now?
Going on 7, why?
When a child plays only one sport, sometimes they have a higher risk of suffering repetitive injuries. They can burn out, and they get turned off sports altogether.
I found myself at 5 o'clock in the morning the other day, sitting in the van, and I realized I'm not a soccer mom anymore.
Encourage Bailey to try different sports.
So I shouldn't have sold the van.
All right, would anyone else like to share?
Hi, I'm Todd.
Hi, Todd.
I bet the farm on my son playing in the NBA. Literally, I took out a second mortgage on the family farm to pay for basketball camps. Things were looking great for a while. Justin made varsity in middle school, but then...
Did he get injured?
Worse. He stopped growing. He's 5'5". Genetics is a cruel mistress. I can't even look my own son in the eye now. It's not because he's so darn little.
Is it because you're going to lose the farm?
No. Because he's playing on the JV team.
But is he having fun?
I never asked.
Maybe you should, Todd.
We're with you, Todd. As a parent, you just want to see your child succeed.
Our Daniel could have played in the NHL. Went to all the day camps, straight into night camp, hockey school, hockey.
Hockey?
Twice the hockey and no school.
He thought he was the next Wayne Gretzky. He wasn't even the next Brent Gretzky. Hasn't been on skates in 15 years.
Early sports specialization can actually hurt a child's overall athletic development. And by encouraging their son to only play hockey, they may have actually hurt his chances for succeeding. But what is Daniel doing now?
David doesn't like to speak about it.
It might help to share.
My son is an astronaut. I still have all his hockey gear.
He still keeps his skates sharpened.
He's still draft eligible.
He's 34 years old.
Gordie Howe played until he's 50.
You need to get over it.
I know.
Admitting it is the first step. How about you? Would you like to share?
I'm Wade. I'm only here because my son made me.
And why is that?
He says I'm trying to live vicariously through him.
Is that true? Right, well, let's all remember why we encourage our kids to play sports.
To win.
To be a star.
To get rich.
We encourage our kids to play sports so they can have fun and socialize and learn to be part of a team. Is forcing our child to play only one sport and then putting a whole lot of pressure on them to succeed a really healthy thing to do?
No.
Good. Repeat after me. Kids who play more than one sport get more out of sports.
Kids who play more than one sport get more out of sports.
Okay, it's actually a Canadian company that put that together, and I thought it was kind of funny because it even though it's about playing multiple sports, it really lets you...
I'm Carly Kloss, and I just created my own website with Wings.
It really lets you see and kind of the humor and the fact that, you know, oftentimes parents only see things through the lens of their own child. And what you've taken on by coaching is now you have to kind of put aside what's best for your own child and do what's best for the group. And that's the big change, and it's hard for people to understand that. And my advice to you, okay, is don't build a wall. You know, you're going to have people that are going to come and approach you, and it's going to get on your nerves and stuff. Don't build a wall, okay? Bring them in and give them a job. You know, if there's people out there that think they can do a better job, you're volunteers. Okay, you're not getting paid for this. Okay, teach them a piece of your tackling circuit. And they see how hard that job really is. Okay, that's the best advice I can give you. Their siblings, there are parents, and you know, when you get approached, okay, you know, make sure they understand there's a lot of work to be done, and they can step up and help. You know, and it's the part that makes it the hardest. It really is, because you almost invite confrontation when you decide to be a volunteer youth coach. And again, my best advice is put them to work. Okay. Got the next page, Coach. You got to go back one. I think you skipped one, Coach. And I may have to trade with you here. Okay. This is, I think you guys wrote this down. This is that, I've got, I think I already have it up too. Skip down again. I've got it on that other screen. I'm going to trade with you.
Do I open it in Chrome?
You won't have, it's already open. I think I already had it open sitting there. I opened it, I didn't open it in Chrome because Chrome's updating, and I opened it in Explorer. Okay, can you go back one for me, Coach, still, so they can see that? Oh, other way. There you go. So this is what I created for you that's full of resources, okay? And it's far from complete. But like I mentioned, it's a drive. It's got all kinds of stuff in there. I'm going to show you a little bit of what's in there so you know what you're looking at here. But what I would encourage you to do is use it. I mean, there's no reason that you can't put your own things in there. If you find something you want to share with the other coaches in our organization, by all means put it in there. Okay, create a folder. Okay, I put it together for you guys so that you have some resources, you know, that you can get to relatively easy with your phone if you needed to. Okay, so yeah, I think it's behind that one video.
I think it's right here. Yeah, I can just go
Yeah,
back.
I don't get that. So. All right. So where'd it go, Coach?
I think it's up there. It's on the, wasn't that if you go?
I see it right here. Oh.
And then if you hit the, isn't it, if you hit the,
I gotta hit the mouse.
go all the way over, yeah, and then.
Okay. So, here's what it looks like. Okay, and what I've done is I've created some folders for you. Backfield mechanics, and what I did is I actually went through, and I had these videos on just on my phone from 2013. I mean, these kids have, you know, they're pretty old stuff, right? But what it is if it's just the mechanics piece, and it's just one drill. That's our T drill. They have somebody snap to the quarterback, and they do that for 5 minutes over and over and over again to get the midline part of the system done, right? And then, you know, there's other videos down in here where we piece it together so that, and this is what they're doing. This is what our backs do while our line is over working blocking drills. Okay?
That thing on the ground, is that in our coaching?
It is. You guys, it's just, we call it a curtain. I've heard it called a fire hose.
I tried to get some old fire hose. We used to get old fire hose from the Kenai Fire Department.
I've actually done.
They didn't have any for me.
I've actually used, for a lot of years, I used a little 1x4 and painted it right on it. And all I did was I cut out the center, and so I had 2 of them I put down. And I used paint and painted the spaces in white, and I still have some in my shed, but their spacing's too wide for little guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but again, that's part of those are 2 drills. Those are a T drill, and then there's the mechanics drills. But when I do T drill, while my quarterbacks and fullbacks are working together, my halfbacks are all working on J blocks and hook blocks at the same time. So there's 2 drills going on at the same time there. Okay. So just to give you an idea, and again, this is just stuff that's in here. I put 4 PowerPoints on there, 4 base plays. I think with the little guys, with the junior Pee-wee team, I've been trying to help Coach Buckby out a little bit, and I think he's going to end up with 6 plays, you know, which is more than enough for the little guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay? But these are just PowerPoints in here. You're getting, though, in here, though, that is, let's see if I can, does this flip the page here? No, that makes it bigger. Oh,
Oh, right there, mid-screen.
this thing here?
Well,
Okay.
if you go
So, I'm going to get out of here.
arrow, it should.
You can download it too here. But the one thing I will tell you is we use blocking rules, okay, at the high school level. With the little guys, here's how simple this is, okay? All these rules really cover a lot of stuff that we see, but the reality is when Sarge and I did this with little guys, we just had the tackle. The object of running off tackle is, I'm going to double team the widest guy that you'll let me, okay? And the guy that's however far out he is, I don't even worry about what front it is. And we would have our tackle just call out the name of the kid next to him, because he's going to be either the outside guy on the double team or the inside guy on the double team. And I would have him make the decision and tell the tight end or the guard just by calling their name. And then that was the easiest thing, right? And then my center's rule, we changed it to MOMA, M-O-M-A, man on, man away. And what little center isn't going to remember his mama? Okay? And so we simplified our rules to a point where the kids could actually make the call on the line, and we did that when they were 8 years old. And they were able to do it. We usually picked, we had the tackle that we put there was a smart kid, you know, and the other two just followed directions and took his lead. Okay? And then we would make sure we had a double team at the point of attack. Even when they were 8 years old, we get a double team at the point of attack. And then we'd get our kick out and our wall block from our guard. And we would make sure we had a running back type kid would play our backside guard. But again, it doesn't. Some of this is going to be more useful than others. And I know Sarge shared some of these with you guys in the past. But then there's play cards versus different fronts for you. Okay, depending on what you see. Okay, so these are in there for you. Also in here, I put some general organization stuff. Our warm-up, which I don't have video on the warm-up, but I can video that once we get separate and the season starts and dump a film of that in there if you'd like. I put in like a blank practice plans that we use, right? Okay, a couple of forms in there. Player workbooks. When I get ready to teach the kids the plays, even at the youth level, I would put some multiple fronts in there. I'd usually pick these ones because it covered every technique that you could see. You know, whether it was a 2-eye, I mean, I won't get into the technique stuff for you, but those 4 fronts cover just about everything you'll see. And I would have the kid write the play, what their assignment is, okay, and any notes that I told them or things that were specific that they had to do. And so if the kid loses a playbook, then all they get is what my tight end does. You know, they don't get a whole play, you know, the whole list of everything to do, right? And then some other things, weekly awards we did. We try to celebrate with our kids every week and make, you know, the more you can pat these little guys on the butt and recognize them, the better. There's nothing wrong with coming out on Monday and picking kids and spreading the love and making sure, it doesn't have to be that elaborate, but making sure that, you know, that there's a lot of that attaboys going on, you know. So this is in here as well. The offensive line drills, this is the fittest one, and it's sad because it's my own position group, but I just hadn't got to it yet. Okay, and I'll make sure I put stuff in there too as we get going here. Quarterback drills. I put my throwing. You know, I did it this way. This is my warm-up progression. This is my quarterbacks do this every day when they come in, every single day. Okay, and I've worked and tweaked these over the course of 20 years now, to the point where it covers everything that we need them to do in our offense. There's 1,000 throwing drills, but for the wing tee, this covers a lot of throwing on the run and stuff, right? And so what I did was I grabbed some kids the first day, let's see, here's a couple, I'll give you a couple examples. I grabbed Sarge's boy, and I grabbed, this is their feet facing away. And what this is, it simulates throwing to their left. Okay? If they're on the run, I have to throw left. They have to rotate their trunk to do that. Okay? And so I put clips of that in there. Okay? And it's all on this list. If you go right down the list, throwing on the run. Okay? I have kind of a yo-yo drill that I do with that as part of their progression, where they keep 10 yards between them, and they just run back and forth. Okay, one guy backpedals, and the other guy runs right at him. Okay, and there's a couple of, I don't want to get too technical on that, because there's two trains of thought when it comes to throwing on the run, whether they're a buzz or whether they throw off the opposite foot. Okay, and both of my guys like to throw off their opposite foot, but I've had kids in the past that do other. But again, there's all these different drills. This is basically my warm-up progression with my quarterbacks, the list and a video of each one of those drills and what they look like. Okay? And this is something that my guys do at the beginning when, you know, and it all kind of fits together, you know. They're doing this when my running backs are doing their bag drills, and then they finish about the same time, and then they go together for mixed group period, which is the T drill and the other drill that I showed you on the fire hose. Okay? So again, it just, we have, you know, and they're groups, you know, I mean, it kind of works out here. The other thing here I put is my running back drills, and again, same thing. I feel like with what we ask our guys to do, you know, we've kind of gone back and forth with this, and the little hand shields that you guys get, you know, 5 hand shields, and you got your whole series of running back drills. And there are 7 that we do every day with them. It's the first thing, it's the second thing they do. The first thing they do is this, and I put it on there, I just don't have a list for it. Where is, what is this?
You can scroll up still.
That's what it is. And it doesn't matter whether you use a layered handoff or a conventional handoff. Everything kind of works the same way here. Full circle's hard, not to jump cut there. Should say ball leverage drill somewhere. Oh, no. Okay, I'm gonna have to, I might have put it somewhere else. I'll have to go find it. But anyways, I put pictures in here of some kind of general ball handling stuff with our, that don't really fit anything, but kind of how we, seems like I'm missing some stuff here. I don't know what happened here, but ball layered. Should be a ball layered empty handle in here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I put, you know, kids showing their pocket. Okay, this kid actually has got his hands too far down, so it's not perfect. I grabbed 4 kids randomly at the end of weight training one day. He's a sophomore running back. He was a tight end last year. He was a junior high last year. Okay, his elbows are actually too high. Okay, this kid who was a tight end probably has the best pocket out of a lot of them. You know, and so I put pictures of that in there. I put what it looks like with the ball. Okay, and he probably does the best job with it because they're still a little high. We roll over the ball when we have it. You can see how hard it is to see still. Okay, and then a couple of things, and there's pictures in there too about what we do with general stuff with the football. We don't run like that all day long. I know it sounds silly, but I'm not very fast like this. I'm much faster when I move my arms. And so the general rule of thumb is for us and deception-wise is once they pass linebacker level, they become an athlete. Okay, and there's pictures in there too, but when we carry the football, okay, we carry it across the front. Okay, we don't want our kids down here and getting it poked out. And ball security is huge for us. Okay, it's the biggest cancer of our offense. We lose football games when we turn it over. And so one of the things that we've settled on is it's across the front of the breastplate. Okay, and they can move it 2 or 3 inches, but they never leave the breastplate. They keep all their points of contact are intact. And the other thing that we do that's a little bit different is when we switch the ball, the old school version of switching the ball, okay, and I have a video of this on here too, is to take the football, okay, and go back across like this when you're going to protect it. And we don't do that. What we do is drop the ball slightly and cross it over the top of it with the other hand, okay? And we've had a lot better success of not, you know, fumbling it while we're running with it, trying to cover up as we go down. Okay, and if they pull on the other hand, all they do is pull my grip tighter. Okay, and when we go to switch hands, okay, we just open the hand up. Okay, put the other hand across and just slide it across to switch the football. There's none of this. Okay, this isn't something we do in our program. We go from here, the hands together, and back into the other side. Okay, and then when we go ahead and we do this, and you'll see our kids doing these in the drills. Okay, and some of them are better than others. I got kids that he did it for the first time ever in the video you're about to see. It'll look better when they have pads on a couple weeks into the season, but those are just a couple basic things. Again, when we switch, we're here. Okay, we're across the front when we have it in one hand and we're downfield being an athlete. And when we're under duress, okay, and when it's time to protect the ball, we go down and across, and so we're here. Okay. Now, as far as just some like general running back drills, for us, it's absolutely vital that they do two things. They run low and they have their eyes up. I mean, that will solve a lot of problems with running back play. We start off with what we call an outside palm cut. And we use hand shields. Coach Palm actually brought these over from Skyview. And if they can run low enough to get a hand on the ground, and the kid here at the end is probably doing the best job of it, the kid that was a tight end. We go from there to a 360. Full circle is what it's called. Okay, we go right from there to full circles. And again, it's just can I run low to the ground? Are my eyes up? Okay, and that's really what we're trying to work on there. We go from there to a hard 90, and you'll start to see things that look more like football. Yeah, if you have any kind of shield, right? Anything you can put your hand on. Okay, and you watch them switching their hands each time, or working the mechanics of that. They do it every day. So they get to where it just instinctively happens. I don't have to tell my kid to switch the ball into, his hand away from the defender when he breaks a run. They just instinctively do it. Then we go from there to spin. We put the ball in our inside hand and they drive with their elbow. And again, I haven't changed the drills. Okay, right? It's a sequence. Okay, and it takes about 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes to teach the first time. My guys run through this whole thing in probably 5 to 10 minutes. Okay.
And that's another one of those tempo things.
Yeah.
Conditioning. I mean, they're dogging by the time you get through your last one.
And then we do a jump cut. And these don't look very good. Again, they're kids that some of our kids have never played for me before that I just grabbed and tried to explain it to them. Okay. This is a jump cut, right? And these are all things that are basic, right? You're gonna cut hard. Okay. You're gonna spin. You can jump cut. These are all skills that running backs need to have. And at the same time, you got to be able to switch the ball from hand to hand, and you got to be able to run low with your eyes up. I mean, these are all basic things. And then we have a couple that we finish with. The last two we finish with. One is called power balance. And I slide the bags in about a yard apart, and I make them touch every bag, and then switch at the other end, pick a ball up. So there's always some ball skills going on. They understand that they got to be able to move with that thing. Okay? And so it's not anything crazy, right? So that's kind of along the same concept. And the very last thing we do every single day is blast drill. Oops, that's the ball in one hand. Okay? Is blast drill. And with blast drill, for us, it's a matter of teaching them. Again, we talked about having confidence in contact. For us, we have a confidence in contact drill every single day. Now, during the season, I alternate this with another drill that I call, that we use as a sideline drill, okay? Where they're pinned against the sideline, instead of getting right out of bounds, we have someone with a shield where they look it back up and they learn how to step low with their face up, okay? They'll split the bags, and then I have just an injured kid at one of our weight trainings that is just going to give them a cut. So we never want to do a drill without having them finish it. Okay, you want your running backs to learn how to finish plays. You put a cone over there. I like to have a coach stand there and dip a shoulder one way or another, and then have them actually have to cut off of it. And then there's another cone, you can't see it, okay, but there's another cone back there where they have to finish through the cone. So they make a cut, finish the run, okay? And so that's a sequence that you teach your kids, and they do, you know. If you got 3 days a week when the season starts, you probably need an offensive day and a defensive day, okay? Where you can have a little bit of emphasis, and then you're probably doing O team and D team every single day so that they touch them both every day, if I was organizing it. And then you probably that last day, you know, you don't ever want to, even at the Pop Warner level, you don't want to neglect your special teams. That can come back and bite you. Okay, and the third day I probably do both. Instead of doing have an O day where I can get through more things on the individual level, and then my D day, and then that third day I probably have some special teams emphasis, but I'm doing a little bit of O and D indie work with them. But the individual work is more important than the team work. It really is. Okay, you don't lose sight of that. The team stuff, it's all great and stuff, but the reality is if they don't have the individual skills to do things, then you can have the best plays in the world and they're not going to be able to execute them because they just don't have the skills to do it. For us, I think, you know, we in a 2.5 hour practice, I'm spending 20 minutes maximum on team. The rest is all individuals. It's probably 2 to 3 to 1 minute ratio time-wise, okay? And when we do team, think of this. We stopped years ago, probably it's been 6 or 7 years ago. When we run team, I no longer run team versus shields, where kids are over there handing or kids running around. I have small trash cans turned upside down for a couple reasons. One is, the most important thing is the kid goes to the right spot. And I don't have to line that other kid up over and over again because he can't line up right. So I've cleared out 2 headaches. And so then I take that kid over there, and now I have 2 offenses going at the same time. So instead of having 11 kids over there and 11 kids here and some other kids standing around, I have trash cans there and 2 huddles shotgunning. One runs the play, gets out of the way. The other one runs the play, and and now when I need backups, guess what? My backup's nowhere to go. Okay, it might be tough when they get there because they're a backup and they're not as physically gifted, but doggone it, they're going to go to the right spot. Okay, and my suggestion is you're repping more kids, and now that other kid feels included. Now you got 22 kids that feel like they got a job and there's some value. Okay, and we do that at the high school level. It's that important to us. And with little kids, it's maybe even more important. Okay, Coach, can you get to that last page for me here? I think I got one more page in here, and then I'll just kind of be available for whatever questions you have. There's a couple things, or 2 things actually. One is, I've always wanted to figure out a way to make my kids, to get them involved from a community service standpoint, and I haven't had the right opportunity. And I know we're hurting for coaches right now. And what I would like to offer to you guys is we've thought about requiring our kids to get 10 community service hours as a requirement to letter. I would love to require them to do that in Pop Warner. Okay? And there's some obvious advantages to that, but there's also some disadvantages. Okay? And what I mean by is we have some kids. I mean, I've got 3 kids on my roster right now that were offered college scholarships over the summer before their season started. Okay, that are great players and great kids, and I would love for them to coach my son. Okay, and as you go down the list, I have some kids that probably be harder to work with. Not every kid in my program is a 5-star kid. Okay, now you just got to let us know which ones are working out and which ones aren't. Okay, and if you can use them. If you don't use them, you know what high school kids do? They're off on the side playing catch, or they're texting their girlfriend.
Well, if we're using a bunch of your drills and they already know how to do
and that's kind of where I'm headed.
That would be a great help.
The kid who just did that bag drill, all the way through camp and did it, can show the little kids how to do exactly what he's been coached to do. Okay.
And he'll yell the same things.
And we'll yell the same things that we yell.
Yeah.
Okay, and so if you want to streamline this, and I'm willing to.
At our board meeting last night, they thought it was a great idea.
Okay. What I need is, I need your help, okay? Because if I have a kid who is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, I need to know, so I can hold them accountable. And what I thought, the way that I thought to manage this was to have you guys sign off, okay? If they help you for, you know, an hour, I mean, it sucks, but there's something to do. They're gonna be coming to you with a piece of paper wanting you to write down that they put 2 hours in today. You know?
I think that's the best way.
And I think that early on, you'll probably have a ton of help and then it'll start to thin out, but what'll happen is, I think there'll be some kids that make connections, and then it's not about the hours, and it's not about lettering anymore. It's about, I made a connection with those little kids and I want to see them be successful. And that's really how community service works.
Well, you've got a couple of big brothers too, so.
Yes. So, and there's a lot of big brothers running around, right? We got a lot of siblings. It's a community thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I would love to be able to do that for you if you guys are interested. It would be a good sell with our kids and our parents. You know, a big part of our program is teaching kids to be unselfish, and I think this goes a long way into putting our money where, you know, I mean, at least making it tangible, so that there's something they actually have to do. Okay, and I don't care if you were rushed for 1,500 yards, if you didn't take the time to go spin with those little guys that are coming up next, then you didn't letter. I'm sorry, bud. Okay, it's that important to us. It really is. Okay, we'll hit that next one, Coach. This is a Jim Harbaugh quote that he wrote an article a couple years ago, and I love this. I really do. He says, have you ever met anybody who accomplished playing 4 years of high school football and at the end of that run said, man, I wish I wouldn't have played? It doesn't get said. And he's right. He really is. You guys that have been a part of high school football, it's such an awesome experience to be a part of at that age, but you got to get them to us first, right? You got to get them to us so that they can be a part of that, okay? And the other thing he talked about in the same article that I thought was like spot on was he talked about how the activities that our kids are involved in are judged by how they make them feel now. And football really doesn't work that way, because football challenges us, and it's hard, and it's uncomfortable. It really is, and the benefits of football, they show up down the road. You know, they're an older person before they realize how much that really meant to them, okay? And, you know, just, again, we want to be a resource for you. We really do. And if there's something that you need, okay, you just got to ask. You know, I mean, that's really the biggest thing I can tell you is I have a vested interest. I have my own children in the program. I've had children that have gone through the program. And anything that we can do to, you know, to make it better, you just got to ask. Okay?
If I could say something on this, kind
Yes.
of a personal story. I grew up in the Panhandle, Texas, playing football there, words of religion. 2-a-days when it's 115 degrees outside. And I went to the Trooper Academy, graduated the Trooper Academy 15 years ago now, and it's one of the most intense, hardest academies in the United States, police enforcement academies. And I'll tell you what, there were mornings I went back to 2-a-days in my head that had been 15 years before that in high school, Texas. And went, if I can do that, I can do this.
You can do this, right?
You bet. I mean, that was truly something I look back on. You know, waking up thinking I'm going to wash out of this academy and thinking, man, I can still see Coach Hollenchuk leaning over me puking, thinking I can get up and do this.
And you hit the biggest part of it on the head is football is a metaphor for life. You know, there's so many things that are taught in football that you just don't get in the classroom, right? You know, working in groups, working with people. Sometimes you don't like. You know, I mean, that's huge. You know, making those sacrifices, but the hard work, the discipline, the things that you know, that a lot of us got. I'm a standing example of you know, football, you know, really turning my own life around. You know, and I get paid to play. I know it sounds crazy, but I get paid to play. I sit in the weight room all day long with kids, and then I get to run out to practice. And I can't believe they pay me to do this. I really don't. And I absolutely love it to death. And you know, if you know, along the way, if there's things you need from us, you know, I've got people, you know, even time, you know, it gets thin. I won't lie to you. It gets thin when the bullets start flying and you know, our games start up and we're running around like mad. But if there's anything at all you need from us, please just ask, you know. I mean, either I'll come out myself or I'll get someone or some kids out to help show you whatever it is you need from us.
Galen, well, thank you for the presentation, going through stuff. There's a lot we can use in there. I know you didn't get to get anything for line drills.
No, that's
offensive, defensive line. Hopefully you can put some stuff in there. I think we got a lot of resources. We really appreciate the opportunity and look forward to working with you and
Yes.
other, your players. Hopefully we can get some more coaches.
Yes.
Pick up, jump in here and help out. And I was still way old school, and the changes in how you approach things, I'm having to adjust.
Sure.
It's difficult.
Well, I think it was probably, I think I was year 7 before I realized I didn't know anything. You know, I mean, so don't feel bad.
Years,
yeah,
right?
I mean, I played all the way through college and coached for 7 years and had been part of a state championship staff, and then I realized that, man, we could do things a lot better, and so it's a learning process, and like I told you at the beginning, if you're willing to learn and you love kids, then you're involved in one heck of a program. You're in the right spot.
Okay. Guys, I gotta run. I gotta pick kids up at Vacation Bible School in Kenai.
Very
so appreciate it very